Tonight's guest is Linda Eastburn.
Looking back on the life that you're leaving, let it rest in a hole in the ground. Stick around for the great revealing, or the fire you've been dancing around. All we hear is the sound of retreating. No one cares where you're coming from. My ears are still ringing and bleeding. I guess we all knew from the start. These are the days my heart goes numb. Yeah, one of these days will be the one. Looking for answers. Oh, what a disaster. These are the days my heart goes numb. My heart goes numb. Breathing the fumes of the ashes, the spirits light up the night. Looking down the ash.
We're live from the Untold Radio Network. It's Untold Radio AM with Monster Quest producer, host Doug Hajicek, and co-host Jeff Perrella Jr. Untold Radio AM is going live right now.
This show is for entertainment purposes only. Yep, that's the ticket. Now here are your Untold Radio AM hosts, Doug Hajicek and Jeff Perrella Jr.
And here we are.
Welcome,
Hello, everyone.
Untoldians. We're back for another
Back.
episode 304.
304. 304 episodes of unverified crap.
Yeah, and I forgot my root beer and my water.
What the heck is wrong? I got my water right here.
I know.
I planned ahead.
Somebody snuck me a bottle finally. At the last second, I got tossed a bottle.
Oh, that was nice of her.
Anyhow, yes, we are ready for another wild ride tonight with the strange, the unexplained, and the mysterious. And every now and then, a streaming pile of unverified crap, as you've
This is
said,
what we're best at.
as you've reminded us of. Just because it's unverified doesn't mean it's true.
Correct.
So we want to make that clear. It's just not verified.
Mhm.
We wouldn't
Can't verify
exist.
that.
We wouldn't be talking about it if it was verified.
Right.
Raccoons are verified. We don't talk about raccoons. Do we? No.
Not typically, no.
No.
Maybe we should.
Yeah. So tonight,
Unverified raccoons.
well, we've seen unverified deer.
We have.
Me and you have together.
That was pretty weird.
It was weird. It was unverified, but we did see a not deer.
You did. It was a strange little animal.
Yes. Anyhow. So, and by the way, somebody's mowing the lawn outside the studio. If you can hear that lawnmower, it's not me.
I can't hear it.
So tonight we got a great one for you. Episode 304. We have Strange Encounters, Bigfoot, Cryptids, High Strangeness with Linda Eastburn.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to her.
And I think almost everybody knows who Linda is by now. She is, she's an author too. Did you know that?
I did.
You did. Oh, good.
Well, and because, hold on a second here. She sent me a cover of her. There.
Oh, there we
Sent me a
go.
book cover.
That is pretty creepy cover.
Yeah. So I'm sure we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah, she's
Can't verify that though.
No, but she has spent years collecting, sharing stories on the edge of the unknown. She really has. So we're going to be talking about Bigfoot, cryptids, eerie encounters, things seen in the woods, things heard in the dark. Tonight.
Possibly raccoons.
Yeah, maybe raccoons.
You never know.
Those
Could happen.
moments where your brain says nope.
Yep.
You know, and of course, we have another full plate of weirdness tonight. We'll kick things off with our weird and fast news. We've got clips, right?
Mhm. We do.
And I don't know what else we have. Oh, we have other things that'll get the crap meter twitching.
The crap meter. Yeah, that's our goal, is to get that crap meter.
I still haven't made the crap meter. I got to do that.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting. I won't forget.
Still in the testing phase?
Yeah, it's in the. Well, yeah, it's hard to get the algorithms just a certain way.
You have unsorted crap. Now you have to test and get that into sorted
Well,
crap.
it'll be the first of its kind.
Mm-hmm.
Crapometer. Anyhow, and I'm trying to think. Oh, I might, for just some odd reason, I have new White Wolf Entertainment Records hats in.
Oh.
And I might give those away. Give one away.
Contest.
Give one away. They're not cheap.
No,
They're
nothing
really
cheap.
good quality.
T-shirts and hats have gone up a ton in the last 10
have,
years.
but this is a really good quality hat.
Yeah.
They're good quality.
Nice.
So. And it's unworn. It's new with the plastic still.
Is that verified?
It's verified. Oh, what else we've got here? That's about it. Let's no, I don't know if we're doing Fakers Funk tonight.
Nope, don't have anything for that.
No Fakers Funk.
Got some clips, got some news.
Yeah, we do have some weird stuff. So anyhow, grab a comfy chair, dim your lights, lock the doors. Do not forget to lock the doors. Keep one eye on the tree line. That's where it's important.
Just one eye? Okay.
Just one eye. You don't have to have two, just one. And we will let's kick it off with our news.
Weird and fast news. Let's go.
Ready.
It's time for weird and fast news. Yeah! It's time for weird and fast news.
All right, Jeff, let's get weird. Let's start out.
Let's quickly get weird.
Yeah, with the U.S. is building a DNA biovault for endangered species. The DNA of wildlife conservation is the goal. It says the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Oh, by the way, we do talk about ferrets. Apparently, there's a ferret. That's ferret. They're verified.
Mm-hmm.
Ferrets.
I can verify that the
Why
ferrets
would
exist.
anybody want a ferret for a pet? They're too quick.
I don't get it either, but
My brother
whatever.
had one.
Yeah, I had
And it was
friends that
like,
had them.
it was just creepy. You go over there and that thing's darting around, hiding,
Yeah,
peeking, darting. I don't know. I didn't like it.
I don't get it, but hey, whatever.
Whatever. Anyhow, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is partnering with a colossal bioscience to create a cryogenic archive of living cells, reproductive tissues, and genomic DNA from roughly 2,300 threatened and endangered animals. Oh, and plants that are protected under the Endangered Species Act. It says Colossal says the BioVault will store samples in liquid nitrogen at about 321 degrees Fahrenheit, minus Fahrenheit. That's cold. Oof. With redundancy. So apparently they're going to store two of everything in a different thing in case of a power failure. I guess they wouldn't want a disaster to wipe out the collection. It's basically a modern Noah's Ark. Right?
Yeah, I'm surprised that you can freeze that stuff and not damage it, but
I know.
What do I know?
I don't know how that works either. To me, it would freak me out. Like they freeze eggs and sperm and they put them together and you're supposed to have a great, healthy child.
Right.
And they do.
Yeah.
But you would think there'd be some cell damage
You'd think so.
or something. I don't know. I don't get it.
Do you ever play with liquid nitrogen? It's pretty
Oh
fun
yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah. Dry ice. Lots of dry ice.
Yeah.
I used to get dry ice by the buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Like the barrel, 55-gallon barrel of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
It's cold. All right, next.
Moving
Queen bees are not made by royal jelly alone. So says this unverified article.
I can't verify that.
No, it says for decades, the simple story was feed a honeybee larva royal jelly and you will get a queen. New research says it's much more elaborate. Worker bees build special royal cribs made from different wax. They regulate the heat, the humidity, and dedicate young teams to raising the future queen. Larvae raised in ordinary worker wax were more likely to die and developed into smaller queens, even when fed the same food. So the cool twist is the whole hive acts almost like a living machine, engineering a royal nursery. Queen making is not just diet.
Bees are pretty. It's insane how much. The whole thing is crazy.
Well,
how they operate and
right.
it's fascinating.
Well, it says here you have to have architecture, chemistry, warmth, and social teamwork to create.
Amazing little animals.
Yeah, they are. I still don't like them.
No.
I mean, I like them, but I don't like them around me.
I sure like honey, though.
Oh my God, I got into not an argument, but a debate with somebody about bees because I'm like, did you know they're carnivorous? And right away they're looking it up on AI going, no, they're not. All they eat is, plant matter and pollen and all that crap. And I'm like, no, because every time I've been in a camp in the fall and you get tons of bees and they're bothering you for everything because all the pollen is kind of dissipated in the fall, right? And so they're always trying to take a chunk out of you. And so what we would do is, well, I'm not going to say I would do it, but you would hang a hot dog on a string and the bees would eat so much meat that they would fall to the ground.
Really?
They would just be so full they couldn't bother you for a while.
That's interesting.
For a while. They would just kind of go away for a little while.
I suppose if they're hungry enough to eat anything.
Yeah, well, I know, but it's don't try to verify it in AI because it won't come up. All right, what do we got next? Boring. DNA reveals Japan's newly described bird species in more than 40 years. I mean, it's just basically, it's a warbler.
Ijima's leaf warbler.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, so it's a little different genetically. Okay, that's kind of boring.
Okay, moving on.
That's a verified animal. And then it says another one, a new AI tool can identify wild animals by their stripes and their spots in real time. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Researchers developed an open source AI system called Rapid that identifies individual animals from their unique coat patterns, like zebra stripes, jaguar rosettes, and giraffe spots. It can run on drones, camera traps, and other field devices, and does not even need heavy GPU power. In test, it hit 89% to 99% accuracy. So there you go. If you want to tell two giraffes apart, you do this with their things.
I don't need that ability very often, but you never know.
You could do whales too.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of actually.
Manatees,
was identifying whales
because they get scars on them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! I'll buy you one for Christmas, Jeff.
So I can identify my zebra collection.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta look outside. I can never tell them apart.
Scientists reprogrammed brain immune cells to fight Alzheimer's in animal models. And this says researchers in Spain and Switzerland identified a molecule called OLE that appears to restore protective behavior in microglia. How do you say that, Jeff?
Microglia?
Microglia.
Sure, why not?
The brain's immune cells. That's called microglia. I learned something new.
Microglia, yeah.
Say that 10 times.
Microglia?
Keep going.
I'm guessing. I have no idea what's pronounced.
Say it 10 times.
Microglia.
Keep going.
Microglia. 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 Microglia.
How's your Kroger doing?
It's been pretty good.
Okay.
I haven't checked it in a few minutes, but I'll take a look later.
In Alzheimer's models, the OLE helped microglia move forward beta amyloid plaques and surround them and reduce their toxic impact and improve memory test performance in treated mice. This is still an early stage animal cell culture work, not a human treatment yet. But the big idea is powerful, and instead of only attacking plaque directly, it reawakens the brain's own cleanup crew.
That'd be something, man.
That would be, yeah. A lot of people, it's not a good thing.
No, it's awful.
That would be awful. I like this one. Jackfruit latex and pomegranate peel may help repair gum disease damage. It's kind of weird, right? Who just tries that one day? So I think I'm going to try some jackfruit latex.
Never eaten jackfruit.
No. Yeah.
No.
But a scientist buddy of mine brought one over to my house one day. He goes, "Hey, come on, grab this jackfruit. We're going to eat it." I'm like, "No, we're not."
Pomegranate's great, but it's hard to eat. I've never tried jackfruit. I would try it, but
I'm
whatever.
sure you would. Brazilian researchers created a new biomaterial from jackfruit latex and pomegranate peel extract. It's called Simvastian for severe gum disease. Periodontitis destroys tissue and bone around the teeth. And current treatments mostly control infection rather than rebuild the damage. In test results, using human stem cells, the gel encouraged well, that's the deal. It's not the latex. They're putting stem cells in it. And they're putting the latex then on the gums, and it sticks to the gums.
Interesting.
So it has nothing to do with the jackfruit. That's just a carrier. See?
I can't verify that.
I can't either. It says it is a nice weird science flavor. Tropical fruit glue is what it tastes like.
Sure, why not?
Next.
Enough of that crap.
Mars may have a vast hidden magma system like Earth. Well, I always thought it did. Didn't you?
I didn't know. I actually didn't think Mars was that active, but interesting to know.
Well, why wouldn't it be?
Well, there's not really any volcanic activity or.
Yeah, there is. I thought there was. I thought there were volcanoes that.
Well, yeah, they're all really old.
Well, they're old.
Yeah, I didn't think there's any recent movement, but learn something new every day.
Well, here's what it says. Oxford researchers used NASA InSight seismic data from Mars quakes and meteor impacts to study a mysterious boundary about 24 kilometers below Mars' surface. Their analysis suggests Mars once had huge, long-lived underground magma systems that reprocess material through the crust, even without Earth-style plate tectonics. It says that matters because geological recycling helps planet build atmospheres, oceans, habitable conditions. The exciting implications are that rocky planets may not need plate tectonics exactly like Earth's to become chemically complex. So who would think that plate tectonics would actually add to the chemistry to create life? Everything seems to work together.
The Earth is what they call it, the Goldilocks planet. There's so many things that have to happen for life to exist on Earth. It's remarkable.
And then last but not least, astronomers found 2 super puff planets lighter than cotton candy in space.
Wow.
They look edible, don't they?
They do. It's an actual picture.
Yes, thank you for taking that picture, Jeff. An international team discovered 2 Jupiter-sized exoplanets, TOI 791b and TOI 791c, about 111,000 light years away. They are roughly Jupiter-sized, but have densities of only 0.038 and 0.047 grams per cubic centimeter, lower than candy floss, far below Jupiter's average density. I thought Jupiter was mainly gas.
It is, but it's dense gas.
Dense gas.
Dense, heavy gas, yeah.
Is that what you... Never mind. There was a joke there, but I'm not going there. It says only a few multi-planet super puff systems are known, so this is rare. There you go. I like that. Super puff. That's where I want to live.
Super
puff planet.
Yeah.
Tastes like
what'd you have for breakfast? Super puffs?
Well, you could, yeah, eat it, and it would be great. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just, yeah, never mind. Oh, I need more sleep. All right. Next, let's do our clips.
Some clip time?
And I think that's, oh, by the way, before we do clips, let's talk about the New York Bigfoot Conference.
Can do.
And before tickets sell out, you're going to want to get your tickets. And it's for October 2nd, October 3rd in a very beautiful part of New York State. It's not New York City. It's New York State. It's in the mountains area of Johnsonville, Gloversville. And I will be one of the speakers. So come out. I'd love to meet you. And we've got Steve Calls as the town hall host. Adam Davies is one of the MCs. Me. Maria Mayer from Expedition Bigfoot, Lauren Coleman, who is, if you haven't met Lauren, here's your chance. He's a legend.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ken Gerhardt, who's amazing, and then Darby Orcutt from NC State.
Yeah,
will be speaking.
Great
Plus,
guest
there's
list.
outdoor vendors, Jeff.
Yeah.
Chili dogs, food.
Looks like
I don't
a
know.
good time.
I think there's indoor vendors too, but maybe not. I don't know. I haven't been there. But Loretta Collins is putting this on with Mark DeWorth.
Cool.
Some great hosts. So
yeah, for sure.
Get your tickets. All right, clips.
Clip time?
Clip time.
All right.
Hey Jeff, you're back.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long time. I think my chair is sinking. My new Temu studio chairs. I got
Need some help in the studio again. Huh?
I got Temu chairs. I swear to God, they're just they're like half the size of my old one. All right, clip one. Sound is good. This is James Fox, who's he does a lot of UFO productions. He's a great producer. Has a new announcement. So go ahead and play this.
What Mr. Grush revealed to all of us, what he had seen with his own eyes, left the room speechless. It drew the oxygen out of the room. I looked at everybody in that room and their eyeballs were popping out. My jaw was on the floor. Like I simply couldn't believe what he'd seen with his own eyes. Like, I can't wait for it to come out. So I asked Mr. Grush today, can I talk about what I heard? And he's like, no, but I will be addressing it very soon. So that's where we stand right now. But I can tell you, Mr. Grush has seen evidence that will leave you slack-jawed when you hear it.
Interesting. I wish he could have a little more of a tease than that, but
Well,
cool.
it'd leave you slack-jawed. I mean, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Are you ready for aliens walking into your house?
I just want to know. I want the truth. Let us know.
Well, I heard that's what they're so concerned about, that once everything's released, the aliens are going to kind of go, well, we don't have anything to hide anymore. They're just going to start walking into people's houses.
It's hard to even fathom the effect it'll have on people. I mean, it's unpredictable.
I know.
You have no
It
idea
is.
how it's going to affect people.
Some people,
kinda
it's
crazy.
going to affect them a lot. And then those people will affect us.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the aliens.
No, it'd be interesting. I just wanted to come out. I
It'll
want
be
the
like
truth.
an Amazon delivery. They'll knock on your door and so they'll just go, aliens, let us in.
Just think about, wrap your head around that. Think about having your eyeballs on an actual extraterrestrial alien. That would be just mind-blowing.
It would. How do you know? Some of us haven't seen them already.
Some of us probably have.
Yeah,
Can't verify that.
No, it's completely unverified. All right, next. Clip 2, the sound is good. This is a deep sea, they call it a deep sea churro. It'll kind of give you nightmares because it's like a giant leech.
Yeah,
Go ahead and play this. It's crazy. It's like that's stuck on your face.
yuck.
No. I think this and the gulper eel are the two creepiest deep sea animals. You've seen a gulper eel? They have that huge. They're like basically it looks like a giant sperm with a huge, and they can kind of swallow their own head to try to make themselves look bigger.
Crazy.
Gulper eels. Yeah, I'll put a gulper eel footage next week. Anyhow, clip 3. Sound is good. Now just hang on. So this is revealing more videos, right? They released 64 more videos Friday. And if you haven't looked at them, but they're showing a bunch of them getting shot down. And I'm thinking, make that make sense to me. Why are they shooting down UFOs?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
You don't think about it?
No.
No.
Well, I just think about it, but I don't know. Something's going on.
All right, go ahead and play this.
The UFO files, meanwhile, keep coming. The Pentagon releasing a fresh batch on Friday featuring some shocking, never-before-seen images and video. And this includes clusters of mysterious objects soaring through the sky, shape-shifting orbs of light lingering overseas, even flying saucer-like objects being shot down by U.S. forces. News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Enton has more tonight.
The Pentagon has released 64 more additional videos related to UFOs. This is in addition to the first batch that was released more than a week ago. All of this ordered by President Trump. Let me walk you through some of the highlights, some of the videos that stood out to me. First of all, this video from a U.S. military sensor in Syria. The video is from 2021, and you can see what looks like a bright sphere, sort of like a bright sphere-looking orb traveling over the surface. And look at this. At one point, it actually picks up speed and zooms off, which is something that experts are especially perplexed by. This next video is a formation of UFOs over the Persian Gulf, again captured by a military sensor. There are like what looks like 3 dots you can see traveling together. This video was uploaded to a classified network in October of 2019. And this is another video, this one from October of 2020. It looks like a little black dot traveling over a city. We don't know exactly where it is, but again, it was captured by a military sensor. Also, the release today, there are some audio recordings, including one with an astronaut, a man named Scott Carpenter in 1962. He was up in space when he reported seeing particles that he described looking like snowflakes. Again, there was no description. Natasha?
Yeah, Brian Enton with that. Thank you. For more, we are joined by News Nation special correspondent.
That's enough. I could watch that all night.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff.
Yeah. But check it out. Go to, what is it, ufo.gov.
Yeah, I haven't seen them all yet, but it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's starting to heat up a bit. All right, then clip
4.
Oh, I know what I was going to mention. Today, I heard that one of our jets was shot down, and then they corrected it and said the guy reported seeing a jellyfish in the air, the pilot, and then I don't know if he collided with it and he bailed out, but he said it was a UFO.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen that story.
And, of course, they originally blamed it on Iranian drones. And the guy's like, it wasn't a drone or it wasn't a bunch of drones. It was like a jellyfish creature. Wow. So, and apparently he's safe. He, did the canopy bailout, popped his canopy.
I'm glad he's okay. That's crazy.
Yeah, anyhow. All right. What do we have next? 4. The sound is good. This is from Ryan IZ Fishing. You got to see the teeth on this.
Look at the size of this fish.
Man.
That right there is an Amazon giant. Smoke the fly boat sign. Unbelievable fight. And look at those crazy teeth. One of the most vicious predators. These giant fangs on the bottom of their mouth are used to spear their prey. And if you look closely, you can see that there's a hole for each of them into their skull where they rest. And huge fins. These fish are pure muscle. One of the most epic predators here in the jungle. I'm out here fishing with Payara Kingdom. One last look at this beautiful fish.
All right.
Wow. Yeah.
That right.
Would you have one of them latch onto your underwear?
No, thank you.
All right. And then clip 5. The sound is good. This is just a little fish this guy caught. But man, it depressurized way too quick because he caught it down at 1,100 feet. This poor thing.
Check this thing out, guys. Just pulled this up from 1,100 feet.
Wow.
I feel like I know what it's called, but I can't remember. If you guys could get a species ID on this thing, this might be the craziest fish I've ever
Somebody
seen.
in the comments mentioned it looked like a Simpson fish from The Simpsons.
It does kind of.
Okay. And then clip 6. The sound is good on this. This is the sound of a baby roadrunner trying to get fed by his mother roadrunner. And it's quite obnoxious sounding. Listen to this. Yeah, soundtrack for a horror movie.
Yeah, man. If I heard that and didn't know what it was,
Prehistoric sound.
Yeah, that's that's something else.
And that's it. And that is it.
That's for clips.
Oh, and then I did get a press release. So apparently, Maxim Furek, who specializes in Western Pennsylvania weirdness, he's publicly disputing capturing Bigfoot, the recent documentary by filmmaker Mark Evans, and he's challenging him to a debate publicly. So there you go.
Interesting. Yeah, it's the fact that film isn't out yet kind of says a lot, in my opinion. But
yeah,
I don't know. We won't really know until we see it. Kind of reserve opinion until we see it.
Yeah, well, we'll just see if this Mark Evans takes him up on debate. I would debate the guy.
Sure.
Any day. All right. What do you got?
That was it.
That's it. All we got. Now we're going to, I don't know if you have any commercials you need to play.
I do.
And then we're going to introduce Linda Eastburn.
Okay.
Excited.
Take a few minute break. We'll be right back.
Bigfoot's real.
Oh, yes, they say.
They came with their stories. They came with their proof. From the Appalachian hollers to the cabin's roof. The New York Bigfoot Conference just offers more convincing proof. Sasquatch believers, the skeptics too, under one big arena with a curious crew. Vendor booths and chili fries, cryptid shirts in every size. Bigfoot's real, oh yes, they say. Spotted him just the other day.
I can't believe what I just saw. It looked like a Sasquatch.
Shadows play. Bigfoot's real. Don't look away. A man with only a camera says he heard the howl by a creek so quiet near an old church tower. A woman saw footprints say. Spotted him just the other day. In the hills, in the trees, where the shadows play. Bigfoot's real, don't look away.
Come to the New York Bigfoot Conference and believe.
Bigfoot through paranormal mystery stories that come alive. RBT, the Mercy Book technology. Hanger One Publishing. Step inside. Step inside.
And we're back. And Doug somewhere. Unverified. He's at an unverified
I'm
location.
unverified guy. Completely unverified. All right. Linda Eastburn. She has over 30 years of experience, intuitive arts, paranormal research, and apparently, I didn't know this about her. She developed or was a creator of SPI technique, a creator of a unique method for manifesting through future remote viewing. She's got a number of publications out, author of Threshold to Encounters, Exploring Bigfoot and UFO Phenomena. She's got a big media presence. She's the host of the Linda Eastburn YouTube channel, featuring interviews with paranormal experiences. And does a lot of research contributions, including she founded the Midwest Research Society, leading investigative trips into the unknown. So there you go. But that's cool. Just a little bit of her bio, but let's bring Linda on.
All right. Welcome, Linda. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
What state do you live in again, Linda?
I live in Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, southern area, southwest.
Okay, right in the middle of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the weather like in the middle of the U.S. in the summer? Is it really hot and humid, or is
humid?
Humid,
hot and humid right now. Of course, we just got through a flash flood situation last week. It was just horrendous. Okay. And then just before that, it was all the tornadoes. So we're still in some strange weather patterns right now. Usually this time of year, it's just dry.
Yeah, well, we had a beautiful week last week, but now we're getting Missouri weather, and it's all hot and humid, and going to get worse every day, I guess, for a while, for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so one of the main questions I want to know, how did you get interested in any one thing in the paranormal? Was it Bigfoot? Was it ghosts? Was it UFOs? What got you really hooked on this topic?
It was, well, I've always been interested in the mysteries of life, so that was a given. But back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a UFO flap that came through our area here. And that got me involved with a MUFON group of investigators. And because I was working in the field of hypnosis at that time, they decided to use me as kind of a second person to do the hypnotic regressions with people who felt like they had experiences. So I had a first line of knowledge base with these people because they were exploring experiences that they could remember bits and pieces of, maybe a light, when they were young, outside the kitchen window or something, vague memory of maybe something in their bedroom, just odd things like that. So
okay, well, back the truck up. So you are you're a hypnotist.
Yes.
And you do therapy on people, I would imagine.
Yeah, I help people to with regressions and things like that. That's not my number one thing today, but that was certainly something I was deeply invested in then, and I do it still today, but not to the degree I did then.
I mean, do people know? Do you advertise that? I mean, because there's got to be a jillion not researchers, witnesses that want it, and just don't know where to get it.
Yeah, there are probably. It's not as popular as it was then. There were a lot of books that were coming out at the time. It was kind of faddish to have a regression and see what you thought, what's in your mind. So I don't have that as much today. Not as much. Now with the disclosure coming out right now, that may have a resurgence because people are beginning to remember again because their mind is being jogged by all of this that's coming forward.
Have you regressed Bigfoot witnesses?
I would like to regress Bigfoot witnesses. I've been offered that, but I haven't had anyone come forward and be willing to do that.
Really?
The Bigfoot community and the UFO community are slightly different group of people. So the Bigfoot community is a little bit more conservative, and they're a little bit more, the just plain flesh and blood type of believers. The UFO community varies a little bit more, and maybe, even though a lot of them are, yes, they're into the craft and things like that, but there's such a variety of people in the UFO community that want to know if they've had an experience. Also, Bigfoot doesn't seem to be abducting people. In the UFO community, people feel like that they have been taken aboard a ship and taken somewhere, and bizarre things happen to them. They may have a physical exam. And with Bigfoot, they don't feel like those things are happening to them.
Right.
Completely different kind of agenda. So there's not the motivation.
Well, I had a chance, Linda, to witness. We flew in a bunch of witnesses, double witnesses, and we had a therapist hypnotize all these people to regress their interaction, because apparently these people had a very traumatic experience. Either they were really young when it happened, felt really in danger, but I'm going to tell you, it was so powerful.
Yeah,
the amount of screaming and tears and things that I got to see firsthand. And we filmed it for Legend Meets Science. It was amazing. I wouldn't even mind talking to you about doing another section and getting some volunteers, which of course have to be highly vetted in order, to make sure that they would be good candidates for it. But I'd love to talk to you about maybe doing another group of people.
I'd love to do that. Yeah. It's a fascinating experience.
Every single one had new details.
Yeah.
And that's where it was. Were you here, Jeff, for some of that?
I was there for the second day.
Oh, you were? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was,
you
that was
popped in,
interesting.
and it was amazing. But yeah, I like to talk to you about that, Linda.
Sure.
Okay. And so if you're in the audience and you think you've had a traumatic experience, get a hold of me. We'll get you on a list. Okay. So I didn't mean to just barge in there and kind of screw up your flow, but I just didn't know that about you, that you were doing that too.
Yeah. Lots of things.
Yeah,
Lots of things.
Yeah, you really kind of go at everything from a whole bunch of different directions.
Mm-hmm.
And so can you give us a little bit of maybe something you heard during therapy from somebody, not giving any names or anything? Was there something that really convinced you that all of this paranormal activity or UFO activity is real?
I think their experience was real. They definitely had the emotional depth with the experience, fear, trauma, all of that to convince me that whatever they experienced, it was definitely a real experience. They weren't making this stuff up. It was just, they just were not. So I guess that convinced me. With the UFOs, I always kind of believed there were UFOs out there. So it didn't take much to convince me of UFOs. As far as their experiences go, however, being abducted was new to me. I remember the first time I heard someone say, this was so far-fetched. Someone was in my house talking about UFOs, and they said they were driving down the road in a car, and the entire car was taken up into a craft. And I'm thinking, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I just did not believe that. I absolutely did not believe that. And then as years went by and I was in the community much more, I started hearing that sort of thing more and more and more. And I realized, well, maybe that is true. I don't know. So the stories got more bizarre. And the belief that I had stretched a lot farther, because I realized we were dealing with some kind of a reality, perhaps that we don't understand.
Have you ever, Caillou asks, have you ever had any kind of paranormal cryptid encounter that kind of turned you on even more, get you more involved?
Well, yeah, probably just a couple of months after I got involved with MUFON, I was out, I grew up in the country, so I was out in the country at a relative's house, and it's pretty remote. There wasn't a house in sight. If you went down the road a little ways, you'd probably see a house, but not where I was sitting. So it was around 10:30 at night. It was dark out. And my husband was talking to my brother-in-law. So he was back in a garage or someplace. We were getting ready to leave and they had something he wanted to show him. So I'm just sitting there in our vehicle and I'm looking across the road into a field. And the field was an open pasture. And then just beyond that, just a little bit of an elevation was a tree line. Not much behind that tree line, but I saw this orange light back there. Just above the tree line. And I'm thinking, well, maybe that's an airplane that's going to go on over, but it didn't. It just stayed still. And I watched this for probably 10, 15 minutes. And then suddenly it just slowly went down behind the tree line. It's kind of an unusual maneuver for this orange light. Well, I didn't think too much about it until, that was a Thursday night. And I think it was Sunday. I was at my in-laws' house. And they knew the people who owned that particular farm right there and the people who owned the farm to the left and the farm to the right. And it was not publicly known. If I had not known these people and if they had not been well versed with the neighbors, I probably would never have found this out. But there was a cow mutilated in the field right there where I was looking. And there was also a cow mutilated to the farm to the left and the farm to the right. Now, they blew this off as some kind of cult, killing and things like that. I didn't see the animals. I don't know if they were the typical animal mutilation or not, but I just found it kind of odd that as I'm watching this, there's a cow's being mutilated that night in the same.
Yeah, it's kind of a coincidence, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And now my mother-in-law, as well as that same brother-in-law, both saw something more significant than that. My mother was 4:30 in the afternoon. It wasn't far from this very same site here. She was just taking a walk down the road. It was just a blacktop road, not a lot of traffic, but not terribly rural either. And the car passed her by, someone she knew. She turned around to wave at them. And she noticed that as they turned this curve, it was a T intersection, that there was this metallic thing, didn't make any noise, and it was moving very slowly across that intersection. And it was very bright, very shiny, was about the size of an automobile, she said. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. I mean, it was, it wasn't dark. It wasn't, and her neighbor was with her. She got her attention. She didn't see it. It went behind some trees before that. This is the weird thing about that one, though, because it could have been, anything maybe. But she called her neighbor in a few days and asked her if she saw anything, because they would have been visually capable of seeing that intersection. They were not far from there. And her neighbor said, no, they weren't home at that time of day. But the weird thing was that night, they looked out on their pasture, and this is farm country. They looked outside the back of their house. And in the pasture back there, some distance from the house, there was a light on the ground. That's very highly unusual. It just would have been very highly unusual. The same night that she saw this unusual craft. And then just up the road from that, my brother-in-law, one day he was leaving for work really early in the morning. And, it was like 2:33 in the morning, very early. He pulled out, he saw a light in the distant eastern sky. And he thought, well, that was strange, but, it was just a bright light some distance away. He turned a curve, and suddenly this light was shining down, just completely illuminating his automobile. And he rolls down his window. He doesn't hear anything. He turns off his automobile. Nothing. He can hear nothing, but it's like this bright light coming down on him. And as very quickly it turned off, he couldn't see anything. He couldn't hear anything. He just went on to work, and he didn't tell anyone until we started talking about my mother's experience just down the road. And then he started talking about seeing this light. So those are close to home, relatives have seen things. My sister also saw an unusual light one night. She was staying at her in-laws' house, and they lived way, way back, off the road, the long lane to their house. And she saw a light out there. They were spending the night. They were just kind of house sitting for her in-laws. I think she and her husband and young daughter. And she looks outside, and there's this bright light at the window. And she's thinking, well, who would that be? What would it be? She wakes up her husband, and this light goes, some distance down away. And then suddenly it's back at the window, and some distance away, I'm back at the window just within a few seconds. It was an unusual thing. And so he gets up, turns on the porch light. No light is seen. And they turn the light back off. No light is seen. They decide to just go home and leave the house to be. But that was an unusual thing, too. And it was all in that same area. Now, the really weird thing is that same community, that very same community. This was back in the 70s when it was like Bigfoot wasn't a very popular subject in the 70s. Nobody knew what Bigfoot was. They might have heard of it, but it wasn't mainstream. It wasn't anything anyone was talking about. But there were two farms close by, and this one farmer was coming into town, the little community store and such, and talking about something must have escaped the zoo, because there was this thing, he said, it looked kind of like a monkey, but it was an unusual big, like creature that he had seen several times on his farm. And then the man right across the road, that farmer, he also was reporting seeing this unusual thing. So this was all happening within, I call it, it's like within a 10-mile radius. The orange light I saw, the light, over the vehicle, my mother seeing the UFO craft, the unusual light coming and going from the window, and then these two Bigfoot creatures that were on these farms were all happening in the same vicinity.
Wow. Have you ever had anything invade your private space at home when you were young, or a ghost or anything that you've seen?
I haven't seen a ghost at all. I owned a house one time that was haunted, but it was a rental property. Well, it was an investment that we purchased, and it had some renters in it, and they talked about the ghost that was there. They had things that moved around in the house, and the house was so haunted that all the neighbors knew it. And a woman had committed suicide apparently in the attic of the house, and they suspected that was why it was haunted now. We didn't own that house very long. We didn't sell it because it was haunted, but we didn't own it for very long. And it even made the news one Halloween because it was so haunted. The whole community knew it.
But not for you.
No, I have no. I'm going to take that back. I had one experience, and it was something I can't put my finger on, but exactly what happened. But it was one night when there were a couple of ladies at my house. I was sitting on the floor. A couple of ladies were in the house, and we were all just talking about this and that. We were all into kind of paranormal things, though. And all of a sudden, and this was unusual, I felt something kind of unusual behind my back in this corner of the room, the living room. And I felt uncomfortable enough that I got up, sat on the sofa, and just mentioned, well, that's odd because I feel this kind of strangeness behind my back. One of the women there said she saw something moving around back there, just kind of energy of some sort. She didn't know what it was. But there again, I was working as a hypnotherapist at the time. And the next day, a man comes to my house for a hypnosis session. I don't know this man. He comes in the hallway, and he stops. He's looking around the house, and I'm thinking, should I run out the front door or something? Because he's not behaving normally. So then he goes into my family room, looks outside, comes back. He's not saying anything, and he puts his hands across his chest. And suddenly he said, I think my father used to own this house. And I was like, okay, that's, interesting. And then he pointed to that very corner that I felt that uneasiness, and my friend had seen that energy movement back there. And he said, and he died right there in a chair. And so I thought that was really confirming that, something was going on in that area. That's the only time that I've had anything in my house, but I could feel that. There was another time a woman came for hypnosis to another house that I was living at. And that morning, before she got there, she was coming in the afternoon. I had there was this little cutout like window like thing in my kitchen that looked across to the formal living room. And I was doing some things in the kitchen, and just several times I would think that there was someone standing in the corner of the living room, and I'd look and I didn't see anything, but I got this impression of something tall, and it was like a dark figure. And I would think, well, is my husband here? And I knew he'd already left. He wasn't home, but I just got this sense there was this tall, dark figure in the corner. I saw that maybe 3 or 4 times. Didn't think too much about it. But when the lady got there, we're in that very same room, and she begins by talking about her childhood. And she said she grew up with this very tall, dark figure that would just lean over her at night. And I'm thinking in my mind, so, well, I think he showed up this morning because I was seeing something that looked a lot like she was describing. And I didn't see it with my eyes. It was always at the corner of my eye, and it was always very brief. And when I would look at it straight on, it wasn't there.
Yeah. I guess you call those shadow people, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't there after she left. So it was just that brief thing that I saw.
So I'm going to ask you a what if question, Linda. So what does Linda Eastburn do as she walks around the corner in her kitchen and there's an alien standing there? Are you afraid? Are you excited? What are you going to do?
I'm going to be startled. First of all, I would just be totally startled. I don't think I would have any kind of preparation in advance to know what to do. I've heard so many stories about aliens and know so many people have had experiences with aliens and such a variety of experiences. Pretty much, you don't have a lot of control in that situation. Whatever they want to do is what they're going to do. Yeah. So that's I don't know. I think I would be very startled. I think I would probably be a little bit in shock, and I would probably just stand there and wait to see what they're going to do, because I know I wouldn't have a lot of control.
Well, what is Linda afraid of? Because you deal with this weird stuff every day, every week, every week. But what gives you? I mean, do you have a fear because of what you know walking in the woods alone? Do you have a fear of, the dark? I mean, do you sleep with a nightlight? Do you not? I mean, I'm just kind of curious where you.
Very few things scare me. Now, I can say when we were filming Byways of Bigfoot out by the Niagara River, I would go out there and film alone at daytime because we needed the footage. We just needed nature shots. We needed, all of these shots. So I would just go out there by myself and walk the trail and get some imagery that we needed, the photos. So, at that time, I did not think one single thing about doing that. It was a very peaceful experience. I love the woods. I love nature. So, but when we started actually taking the group out there and getting more deeply invested in looking for evidence, we started finding evidence. And there was a part of me that thought you were a little of a risk taker to go out there by yourself, and no one even knew I was there, to do that filming alone. So I guess I would be a little bit hesitant today to not take someone with me.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're not over it. See, I'm a scaredy cat now because of what I've seen. I just, I'm a little more jumpy, a little more afraid to do things alone. We've seen some weird stuff through the years, not much, you know what I mean? Really spaced apart, years and years apart. But, that stuff doesn't go away. When I have to take the garbage out, my head's on a swivel. Mm-hmm. Only because I'm alone. It's dark and I've seen things, it's like, I just, it sounds terrible. I hate to admit that stuff, but when I'm with somebody, I'm brave as hell for some weird reason. It's like, if you're going to die, you need a witness. Does that make any sense?
I think I haven't seen enough that's frightened me, even though I saw, these odd things. They were brief moments, and they didn't put me into a state of fear. I just really haven't been exposed to that.
Have you, okay. Do you ever go out looking for trouble, as they say?
A little bit, but not much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put myself in positions, I've been in huge groups. The Midwest Research Society, we did travel groups, to look for UFO spots and, to try to see a UFO basically is what we were looking for. I've been in all kinds of remote places, and heard all kinds of strange things, but it just doesn't seem to, nothing seems to happen, when we try to create that. Now I can say once I created this experiment to see if we could project a UFO and be able to get a picture of one just from our mental projection.
And that's this SPI technique?
Yeah. Well, it was long before that. So it's one that I just came up with on my own. Okay. So because I was doing a lot of this, I just got this idea that some of these experiences may be kind of our own interaction with whatever it is. So I got a group together and they didn't know what we were doing. So there was this silhouette. It was kind of a UFO shape to the silhouette that they were to look at every day for a certain period of time. And then we gathered on a Sunday afternoon, nice, beautiful day, some clouds in the sky. But then we just went outside, looked into the sky, imagined the same shape. And I just took about 50 pictures, just bam, 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 bam. This is before digital. This was just take pictures of the clouds. We didn't see anything. When I got them developed, however, there was this very unusual kind of grayish, like saucer shape in every picture, and it had this kind of ring around the center of it. Now, it would still look like a cloud, basically, but it did stand out. It stood out, from the other clouds, and it did have that shape to it. And it was darker. It was kind of a grayish color. The rest of the clouds were more of a white, fluffy cloud. So we did do that, but some of that group I'm still in contact with, and we just decided yesterday to go back out and see if we can repeat that, see if we can get anything more definite.
Keyword group.
Yes. Yes.
Could you imagine though going out walking, parking your car, walking out into a field at 1 a.m. and doing whatever this technique is alone? Would that scare you a bit?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that at night alone. Okay. I don't think I would.
I'm just curious how brave you are. No. I'm always trying to figure out how chicken I am by comparison. So, gosh. Let's talk about UFO disclosure just a bit. Are you disappointed? Are you excited? What's, on what's currently going on?
I think most of what is being disclosed right now, anyone in the UFO community pretty much already knows that. So there's no newness to any of the disclosure at this point. Yeah. I think it's the interesting thing is kind of behind the scenes is why. Why are we getting this information? Where's this going to go? I mean, I think most of the time, since this has been under wraps for such a long time, trying to convince people that it doesn't exist at all, why are we suddenly promoting this so heavily and releasing this? Is it just for our own knowledge base, or is there some strange manipulation of the American people, or any people to, is there something that's going to come along with this? I guess that's my deeper question.
So in other words, you're thinking about there's some hidden agenda.
Possibly, I don't know why else, because why now? Why would it just suddenly come out?
It is odd. Yeah, I do find it odd. And I've asked myself that too. Is it because the whistleblowers have come forward, and I'm kind of like, there's been whistleblowers forever.
Long time.
Right. I remember watching whistleblowers back in the 60s. Mm-hmm. And I'd watch those clips of footage over and over and over as a young guy. But yet nothing really came of it other than the skeptics are still very skeptic. A lot of people see these little things darting around that they're releasing on the videos, and they're like, it's just a balloon. So it's just, they still don't believe it. So what do you think they are? Do you think they're interdimensional? Do you think they're from other places? Do you think it's both?
I mean, it could be both, but for the most part, and this may be a bias on my part, I do a lot of remote viewing, a lot of psychic work. And over the years, I think what I've seen is they're probably constantly around us. We just don't have the perception skills to be aware of them, to see them. I think when we do have perception, it may be a combination of things, either, somebody presented this on a podcast I was listening to the other day, and I'd never thought of it before, but, just as, scientifically, as we observe something, we can collapse a wave. And he's thinking maybe something about consciousness can collapse whatever causes them to be hidden so that we might see them. And then it goes back, of course, and we don't see them anymore. I think they're everywhere. The best description that came to me was they're like bacteria. We don't see bacteria with our naked eye, but it's everywhere. So I think they're everywhere. We just don't have knowledge of them.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that does. The question is, why do some of us see them? Some of us never do. Some of us never even know people that do. And some of us meet tons of people that do. It seems so black and white. And it really, that always kind of freaks me out. Like, Jeff, you've never seen a UFO.
Mm-mm.
And I could honestly say I've seen over 300.
Wow.
And how does one guy 0 and me 300?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, look, I'm as big of a skeptic as anybody. I'm talking about close UFOs. I'm talking about 50 feet away, 30 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet. God, my first thing was probably about 1974 or 5. I was driving, and there was something I thought was like a big chandelier over the intersection on this kind of deserted road called Coon Rapids Boulevard. And as I get closer, I'm like, why did they put a chandelier up over the, like, that's kind of weird, over this intersection? And it was blinding. And I kept driving towards it thinking, well, where's it hanging from? I actually thought they were upgrading intersections with bright lights. So I got closer, Linda. I kept getting closer. And I see this domed, this like glass clear dome and this pretty saucer shaped bottom. And it's just stuck there. I'm looking, there's no pole. Then I think it's a hoax. So I start investing. I'm driving really slow going, okay, who's hoaxing me? And then when I got really close to it and I got out of my car and looked up at it, I mean, it was 10 feet above the ground, so it wasn't very high. And it freaked me out when I looked at it and realized what I was looking at was real. I got in my car and took off, got to a safe distance, and then watched it cross the road. But that was in the 70s. So I've had disclosures since then. I don't know what it was, right? Completely unverified, but I know it was real. And that haunted me forever. And then, I kept seeing just things like that just kept happening. So I don't know. I don't know what it means. But yeah, there's nothing in the disclosure so far that I feel like is new info. How about the twist, Linda? What are your thoughts on the twist of the interdimensional kind of like the whole government? Most of the senators are kind of, hinting towards they're not space travelers, they're interdimensional. And then the talk that the people that claim they're in the know, they say it's so horrible that they're not going to even tell their families, that it's so depressing and so icky. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there again, I'm pretty open-minded about what's going on. I think that there may be some control factors with the people, the American people, or there may be control factors in that the aliens may be in control. When you're in the UFO community, you hear every conspiracy theory possible. And I just have to be open-minded about it. And, since aliens really are not in my backyard and they're not interfering, as far as I can tell,
not yet
with me. So I'm allowed to be objective. I'm not seeing these things and they're not entering my home and doing all these things. But if there's a bigger agenda, that the aliens have, of some sort, it seems almost like, and I had a group yesterday and we were talking about this very thing, that it seems like there's something about this kind of another level of interaction that may be attempting to occur. Now, whether that interaction is going to be real and it's a reality that we're being prepared for, or whether it's going to be some kind of a delusional hoax
Like
that will be a manipulative.
Yeah, what do they call it? Operation. We've all heard about. I don't know if it's real. It's unverified. Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam. It's going to be holographic UFOs projected in the sky and.
Right.
Kind of an invasion to kind of get more control over us. But then
that seems plausible.
Yeah, well, of course it is.
Sadly,
yeah. Of course it is. And then I wonder, and I don't know if you've thought about this. How much does the government know about? I would imagine you believe the Bigfoots are real because of all the countless witnesses and sightings, but. Is it possible the government wouldn't be studying that? Just like they said they weren't studying UFOs forever. And, of course, we've all come to learn at least that they've never stopped collecting data on UFOs. Do you think they're collecting data on the Bigfoot witnesses too?
I do. I think the biggest thing with Bigfoot is it would be the inconvenience of letting the public know, because then there would be outcry of this and that. Yeah. And some sense of responsibility toward them. And I think it's easier to ignore that than it would be to acknowledge it and deal with it. Now, and maybe that was true of UFOs too. It was just more trouble than it was worth to even begin to introduce this into society. But there may be something coming down the line between UFOs and our government, or UFOs and human beings, that we don't know about. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. A lot of the people that I hypnotized back in, especially the 90s, early 2000s, they were often in the process of being abducted. They wasn't just the physical exams. Oftentimes they were being taught things. They were being shown how to drive the craft. They were being shown that there would come a point in time where they would need to assist people in getting on the craft to go off planet. I don't know if it was some kind of a natural disaster that was happening, or a nuclear blast, or whatever, but they were being shown things and taught things in case they needed to do this. So, I mean, was that just, the save the world syndrome in their own mind? Or was this a reality that the aliens were teaching them? Was this some kind of an event that's coming up? Is there a need for us to know this? I don't know, but I'd have to take all of that and put it into, a box of consideration.
And
and what do we do with
that? And what about okay? And I guess my opinion is why would they at least have some little group in the government? I mean, they have endless money to just study the Bigfoot mystery and probably have never stopped, because, like, if whether you think there's some kind of interdimensional creatures, or there's a relationship with UFOs, or they're just flesh and blood. I mean, all of it you would think would interest the government, every bit of those.
You would think so. It seems like with Bigfoot, I don't know what are they going to study with Bigfoot other than they're just there. With the UFOs, it seems like there's a much broader piece of information there, like stopping nuclear weapons, showing up around, warships, and there's like a lot of things like that.
Shooting them down, Linda, and collecting the debris.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's all kinds of things with it. Yeah, but you don't hear about that with Bigfoot. It's just kind of like in the woods, leave them there, don't bother them. Yeah, we know they're there.
But I do wonder if they're gathering data on all of the sightings. How often they visit the BFRO. How often do they listen to podcasts to see? You know what I mean? How often do they listen to Linda Eastburn? I would think they would be on your show every week.
Yeah, I've done 500 or so interviews on Bigfoot so far. Wow. And when I was doing this is the difference. When I was doing the UFO, when we did the research group, as well as when I was doing the hypnosis, this was a weird thing. People started showing up, and I wouldn't say they were government people, but they started showing up, and weird things started happening. My phone was bugged. My whole family started getting hang-up calls, as well as I did.
When was this?
This is whenever I was doing the hypnosis with people who had abductions.
Okay.
And it stopped. Of course, I wasn't doing that as much, but they've never been interested in the Bigfoot thing. No one's showing up at my door for that. But before, when I was doing the UFO stuff, there seemed to be an effort to discourage me from moving forward and doing it. That it didn't discourage me, but it was odd stuff. There were just really odd things happening in my world at that time that seemed as if there was intention to deter me from doing the hypnosis stuff with people who had abductions. I'm not sure what it would accomplish, but they were definitely present in my world.
So you really did feel like they were just somebody was watching, harassing, maybe trying to get you to stop doing what you were doing.
Yeah, it was subtle. I mean, one morning the phone, my mother called, she hung up. I could hear something. I hung on, and it was obvious I could hear something moving in a distant, kind of office or something. I could hear footsteps. I could hear a drawer open. I could hear all these things for about 10 minutes. And this was back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. So, we didn't have digital stuff back then. So there was like the old tape recorders would do a click when it turned, click, click.
Yeah.
So I could hear that the whole time. It was about 10 minutes or so. I could hear that the whole time. And then suddenly there was a beep and it stopped. That night was our MUFON meeting, and I went to the MUFON meeting. They showed a video, and in the video it was Wendell Stevens doing a documentary down in Georgia or somewhere, and he said that night they had the whole crew, each with their own individual motel rooms.
Well, he was one of the original whistleblowers, because didn't he say that he had filmed UFOs with his camera gun on his? Wasn't he a pilot?
I'm not real sure about Wendell's personal research.
I believe so. Yeah.
This was just
the originals.
This was just the video that they were showing that of him. But all of these people had motel rooms, and that night they had hang-up calls. It started at 2:15, 1:15, 2:15, 3:15, all the way through the night. And the next day they went down, and nothing had gone through the switchboard downstairs. No calls had gone through there. Well, that night I went home. Now, this is the same night. This is the same night that morning I'd had the phone call that I could hear the tape recorder and all that. And went to sleep, and 12:15, I get a hang-up call. 1:15, 2:15. So, someone was at that meeting that night. Someone knew that they had, my phone was bugged that morning, and someone was letting me know, that they were doing the same thing to me that happened in the video. It was that sort of thing, that kind of repetition thing that would happen. And then people would call and say they didn't call. I'd call them back. It was a government office. It's like, okay, what's going on? I'm not doing anything other than regression work with these people, and certainly not getting any kind of information that seemed vital to anything. So that it was just weird.
It definitely sounds like they were hassling you.
Yeah.
I was, this has happened twice when I talk to my daughter on the phone when we talk about UFOs. We will hear this conversation's being recorded. We'll come across. And me and Adam did a thing where we tried to simulate what it would take to do that, because I know the phones have that capability now, but it's quite a process to get that to happen. And then when we would talk about family stuff, it would end. We'd hear a little beep and it would end. And then when we started talking about UFOs, it would start again. But that happened on 2 different nights. It's it's like coincidence. I don't know. It was kind of odd. It freaked her out more than me even.
Yeah, you're used to it.
A little bit. But yeah, you just kind of wonder. And some people have joined a little bit late, and they want to know whether you've ever hypnotized a Bigfoot witness, and the answer is not yet.
Nope. So I'm happy to. I would love to do that.
No, she wants to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to, in fact, talk to Linda at some point here soon about maybe doing that. And flying you up here and getting, I don't know. It takes time because you have to I know you have to do a lot of prep work with them. You just don't, grab somebody and lay them down and hypnotize them. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, they have to feel comfortable with you, and they have to personally. A lot of people think that the hypnotist actually causes that to happen. It's actually the person's willingness to follow
Right.
the suggestions. And if they feel uncomfortable in any way, it's
Yeah.
difficult for them to drop down into those alpha and theta waves.
Yeah, the hypnotist we had, her name is Teresa May. She spent a long time with each witness. It was quite a long process, and there was even concerns like they don't want to like do anything to create any post-traumatic stress on
Right.
somebody, and on and on. I mean, that was amazing. I
Yeah, that's
didn't
cool.
know. It was kind of an education for me.
Mhm.
But the results, I will say, were spectacular. They were
Yeah.
surprising. Um, anyhow, so do you feel that Bigfoot is has some kind of relationship of some sort with UAPs, or do you think they're two separate things?
Well, I don't know, but I can tell you the information that I do have. You know, some of the military remote viewers, they remote viewed a lot of UFO stuff, and they remote viewed a lot of planets. And they saw one planet, and they described the entities that occupied this planet as looking like Bigfoot. So there's that. The other thing is, you know, about 50% of the people that I interview out of maybe 500 or so interviews that I've done have had some form of a UFO encounter as well as a Bigfoot encounter. And that could be just because they're able to perceive things like you know, they're able to see a UFO. They can also see a Bigfoot. They're just have more perceptive in that regard. I don't know. So, you know, it could be that there's some relationship there, but there's definitely a relationship in how they behave, in that, you know, Bigfoot seems to be able to disappear, and aliens seem to be able to just appear and disappear. Those are likenesses that they both seem to have. So that's the correlation I would put in that. The experiences seem to be somewhat related in that way.
Yeah, the weirdness. I mean, I hear the weirdness all the time. I personally haven't experienced a ton of weirdness. I've seen orbs in Bigfoot areas, and you know, but I've never really been like, you know, Bigfoots for sure are, you know, supernatural. But Adam, we're doing a research project, and Adam was staying at a remote home, and he was alone. And during that night, the home got pounded on. He said it was insane. It was like the house was a bass drum. It was pounded violently. It was loud. And yet we had a recorder on outside because he was going to set up a bunch of cameras the next day. And there was nothing recorded, Linda.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you can hear him putting it out. You can hear him picking it up. And that, but on the side of the home, damage on brand new siding was all pounded in 15 foot up. So it isn't like he imagined it, right?
Right.
But it didn't record. Now, normally, you know, audio does a really good job recording, but that night nothing was. And so it's a real mystery, especially to an audio expert like that. He's really confused.
Well, you know, that's true of like people who would put up cameras in their bedroom because they felt like they were going to be abducted, or you know, and the cameras would just go off during that period of time. They just didn't work. I did a research trip to Puerto Rico once and took, you know, lots of camera equipment that we were kind of in remote areas, you know, not close to any place, and all my batteries were drained. You know, it's like we couldn't do anything. So there's some kind of interference sometimes with electronic equipment, both with UFOs, and it does seem to be true also at times around Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's a crazy mystery, right?
It is.
And I'd be the last guy to say I know anything. I've been researching going on, it's getting close to 40 years. And I've been made a fool of for 40 years. And so that alone is kind of paranormal in some ways, if you think about it. They seem to always find a way, no matter what we do, what we try. We were up at Snow Grove. We had cameras really low and camouflaged, and we'd spent the whole day putting like moss and all sorts of things on these little tiny cameras, and we hit them all low. That night, a rock hits one of the cameras, and then I hear it live, and then we're all quiet. Another rock hits another camera. Another rock hits another camera. And we're actually experiencing that now at this new site, getting a lot of rock throws that are, hitting right near the camera or the camera itself. And yet we still haven't gotten our subject, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's like, how smart can they be? So what do you think?
Same thing with UFOs. I mean, it's just really impossible to get a picture of an alien. It seems like just they don't happen.
Yeah, I personally don't think there's any authentic pictures or video of aliens. Maybe there is, but I look at that stuff and I go, that's a puppet. That's animation or whatever. I just haven't seen anything that was convincing. Like, you remember the alien autopsy show?
I do.
What do you think of that? I mean, I thought it was just amazingly fake.
Yeah.
But maybe it isn't. You know what I mean?
It's hard to say, but I kind of had that same impression. I just really didn't think that was probably authentic.
Yeah, it's so, I don't know. This mystery is just baffling. But yet, I don't ever want to give up, because you're never going to get anything if you give up, right?
Well, and we're not going to ever turn our curiosity off. We're curious people. That doesn't ever go away.
Yeah. Do you think your curiosity, Linda, has led to a lot of, friendships and learning, and like just completely enhanced your life?
Oh, I just love it. I like the mystery, and it's an ongoing mystery, and it's with every person you talk to, there's another little niche of information. So, it's very fascinating. I think it's more just my personality. I enjoy the search. And like I've told several of my guests, I said, if we do find a Bigfoot, what's going to happen? We're all going to be disappointed because we won't have a reason to get on these shows anymore. It's going to be found. So I think the mystery is what drives everyone.
Yeah, somebody saying respectfully, so like, he won't trick a spirit creature. He could be absolutely right. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also don't see the harm in trying to trick a spirit creature, because I don't think anything is perfect.
Yeah.
I don't think any creature is perfect. They're all got faults. And maybe one day they're going to go, hey, you know what? I'm going to get Hajicek the best damn video ever, because he's going to do something good with it. You know what I mean? I just don't know what to think about all of the times I've been fooled and tricked by these things. It's like the coyote chasing the roadrunner. I'm definitely the coyote. Fail. Okay, somebody had asked. It's kind of an interesting question. What is the cemetery connection with cryptids? Have you ever thought about that, Linda?
Yeah, I had an introduction to that actually before I got involved with Bigfoot. That a friend of mine was a cryptid researcher, and he was talking about all of the correlation between these cemeteries and some of the the Bigfoot, the Dogman, that sort of thing. But also, I used to have a radio show called Anomalies, and Ted Phillips was my co-host, and
I knew Ted. Yeah,
you knew Ted.
He was the evidence. He was amazing.
He was a hardcore evidence-based guy, and we did that show together for about a year.
Wow.
And he did the Marley Woods thing, that all of the research that was going on there at Marley Woods, and he described something that was a Bigfoot was there. They saw a Bigfoot going into a frozen lake, and then it just disappeared. And the footprints went on the lake, and then it just stopped in midstream. So, but he talked a lot about there was a UFO activity there for sure. There was a lot of bizarre light flashes and radiation and things like that also on that property he was researching. But he also talked about the Bigfoot correlation with the cemetery. There was a cemetery on that property that they were researching, I believe, and there was this line of skinwalkers dog man, whatever they were. They looked like dogs, but it's a line of them in a row walking upward this hill toward the cemetery on that property. I just thought that was a most interesting, fascinating visual, that they got. Different things would happen. He would go out there and stay at the property and just at a little cabin, and just the most bizarre things would happen. But yeah, there was a cemetery there, and there was all this weirdness around the cemetery too.
Yeah, there's been too many to kind of just write them off as coincidence. And then, of course, I thought, well, cemeteries are usually kind of wooded around there because people don't necessarily want to live next to a cemetery. That's a possibility. But, man, there's so many stories. They're just hard to ignore. Of all the cryptids, is there any of them that you think is just BS? Do you have any BS in you at all, Linda, or are you pretty much?
Yeah, I'm pretty open-minded because if I don't have proof that they don't exist, then I give all possibilities that they could exist. Right. I guess these flying things, like the Mothman kind of thing, that sort of thing is probably least believable to me. Not that they can't exist, but I've heard of some that are just gigantic, and I'm thinking, that it's not that they can't hide somewhere. Maybe they do just come in and out of our reality. I don't know, but those are the more unbelievable.
They would have to.
Yeah.
I used to think exactly like you did. It's got to be BS. And then me and Yvette are driving south on 35W. We're approaching Moose Lake area, and it's a clear night. And we see a shiny thing up by the moon, and it drops straight down and almost level with the road. It just dropped like a spider on a web, just suddenly stopped and headed right for my windshield. And it got closer, and we didn't know what we were looking at. And then it got, close enough where the headlights lit it up. We could see it was like a humanoid with wings, like bat wings, wider than the freeway. And then it just zoomed over the top of the car. She hit the ground, ducked, I guess. Then I finally ducked too because I thought it was coming through the windshield. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, well, what the hell was that?
I had interviewed someone just the other day that described something exactly like that happened to them. Yeah.
Same thing. It swooped. Do you want to tell us about it real quick?
That was pretty much it.
Please, Linda, so people don't think I'm nuts.
Yeah, it was an area that they had seen a Bigfoot in that same vicinity. It was a country road. They were young. They were teenagers, I think, and they were just driving out in the country. And they'd seen a Bigfoot maybe a year or two before, and they're driving. There's 5 of them in the car. They all saw it. It's this winged creature. It comes flying right at their car, and they saw the face up close. It had kind of a stretched, dark mouth, but it looked like a man. But wings were at least 5-6 feet apart, and it came right at their windshield and then went over top of the car. And that one startled all of them. The Bigfoot didn't frighten the driver, the one I was interviewing, but this thing did. I mean, it was a very, very scary thing. Now, this is another thing, though, in that same area. This was really weird because time loss seems to also be correlated with some Bigfoot researchers as well as UFO experiencers. But later on, the same guy was out there on this road, and there was a burnout car close to the river, and he just drove on down. He was gone maybe 20 minutes and came back. When he came back, the car was completely gone, but also that burned section of the road was no longer burned. So he went home, and he was telling his parents, and he was a teenager, so he went home and told his parents about the car. And his dad said that was really odd because he remembered back like in the 50s or something like that, there was a murder, I think, and in a car that was parked right at that same spot, and they had burned the car to get rid of the body in it, I believe is what they said, and it was the exact same place. So it was like he kind of wondered if he'd had a time slip. Maybe he saw something that wasn't even there in the past. Since when he came back by, it wasn't even, the ground wasn't burnt.
Wow. That's kind of nutty.
Yeah.
Somebody has something really, have you ever heard of any, like a UFO witness that ever heard any kind of humming or any kind of infrasound kind of sound, sounds, I guess. I took a report literally yesterday, and they didn't know anything about my me and David Ellis's hum study, because people keep recording these weird kind of like, sounds like kind of overdriven hummingbird wings in association with Bigfoot sightings. Okay.
I haven't heard of that with Bigfoot sightings necessarily. I have a little bit with the UFO experiencers, but not necessarily the Bigfoot. What I hear with Bigfoot is more like these very unusual sounds of machinery. It's like big machinery, but it's, they're in a place that there can't be any big machinery around.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hear more of that sound than a hum. More
mechanical sound.
Yeah, a mechanical sound, right, exactly.
Yeah, even door slams or things that sound like a door slam.
Interesting thing I heard the other day was the wood knocks that these people had. They had an electromagnetic field detector out with them doing Bigfoot research. And every time they'd hear a wood knock, this thing would spike. It's like, why would an electromagnetic field detector spike with a wood knock? That doesn't make any sense at all. But of course, with UFO researchers, I do know they often will take these out to sites where there's been some kind of alien interaction. And oftentimes the very place where that would occur, there would be a spike also in the electromagnetic field detector. So those are also correlations that you wonder, well, okay, what is this and why?
Well, what kind of sounds have UFO people reported? Can you remember any of those?
I remember a researcher that went to South America somewhere, and there were people that had constant aliens coming into their home. And when they asked where, a man had already gone through the house, and they were having an interview in one room with the people, and this guy was going through the house with his electromagnetic field detector, and he found the spot in the dining area in the floor that was just spiking off the wall. It was just huge amounts of radiation come from there. And the people, when they were asked, in the interview in the other room, they asked, okay, so where do they come into the house? And they went into the dining room. It was that very same location. So it does seem like maybe there's some form of a correlation there between the electromagnetic spikes and these aliens or Bigfoot or whatever coming and going from our reality.
Interesting. What about dead batteries and I mean, just the batteries and electrical failures. One of our encounters cost me about 10 grand because it burned out all of our low voltage in the home. All of it burned out. Even all the HDMI ports on the TVs were burned out. Well, you can't use a TV if you don't have any way to plug in anything, an antenna or cable. So we had to get all new TVs. It burned out our vacuum system, our alarm system. It burned out my electric boat controller. My phone was a brand new iPhone, was completely toasted when I tried to film these things. And so that was really an expensive encounter.
It would be. I haven't had that personal experience, but I've heard a lot of people who have. When we filmed Byways of Bigfoot, we had no problems whatsoever. When I did the UFO research, however, sometimes the batteries would drain. It didn't tear anything up. It was just the batteries would drain. We couldn't film anything.
Yeah, I wonder, I've never, trying to think if I've ever even encountered anything electrical with Bigfoots. I haven't personally. My son has. He's had not a thermal, but a night scope explode in his face when he was filming a Bigfoot. It just literally exploded. And he's had batteries go dead and that kind of thing. But I haven't. But with UFOs, I have.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You just wonder if they're doing it on purpose or if it's an accidental, result of whatever they're putting out.
Yeah, it sounds like to me, or it seems like to me that it's more of the essence of what you're dealing with there, the reality that you're dealing with. We don't know how much that interferes with our sense. But, the old reports, since I knew Ted Phillips so well, and he did so many UFO reports, in the old days, back in the 50s, 60s, a lot of people would report seeing a craft on the road or the side of the road, and they would get radiation burn. Now, I haven't heard of a radiation burn for quite a while.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Do you remember the Val Johnson case where the guy had, even his eyes were burnt? That was the sheriff up in, I think it was War Road, Minnesota, that saw a bright light at the end of a road. It was like an orb, and he kind of headed his car because he thought maybe it's a drug plane landing on this deserted dead-end road. And so he goes towards it, and the thing comes towards him really quick, breaks the windshield, cracks the windshield, bends his spring-loaded antennas at a right angle, gives him welding burns on his eyes. And then there's that very famous case of the two ladies. I cannot think of their name. They had their son with, it was Landrum, the Landrum case. The Vicky Landrum case, where they were both had severe radiation burns. I don't even remember what state that was in, somewhere down south. But they sued the government because, they had all these health problems, and
Texas.
they had seen military helicopters kind of hovering above this UFO that looked like it was in trouble. And so they made the dot connection, thought, okay, the U.S. military's hiding secrets. And it's the first lawsuit that was ever fired. Of course, they lost the lawsuit.
It was in 1980 in East Texas.
Oh, East Texas. Yeah, I knew it was south. That's the Landrum case. Look it up, people. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
And, they recall things like they touched the door handle and fried their hand, and somebody had left their handprint on the dash because the dashboard was so hot. But yeah, you're right. We don't hear much about that anymore. You kind of wonder, are their technology improving? Is that even, I don't know. It sounds crazy.
Or maybe they didn't realize it hurt us at that time.
Yeah. It's true.
Maybe they learned that. Who knows?
Yeah, and the Travis Walton, he was injured. Do you think that missing people have anything to do with cryptids? Or do you think it's some other UFOs or just natural causes?
I lean more toward just natural things with that rather than to be an abduction of some sort. I suppose a really, hungry Bigfoot could capture a human or take a human for whatever purpose. And but aliens don't seem to keep them; they return them. So I haven't heard of anyone just going missing that's related to an alien.
Right, that hasn't been returned.
Yeah, with Bigfoot, it's possible.
But Linda, if they're gone, how are we ever going to know?
That's true too. It's really impossible to know.
You just lost that debate. Yeah, how would we ever know if they're just taken? Oh my God!
I can tell you a really weird thing that happened when we were filming Intuitive Journeys. However,
please,
you have to make the show good. We were always honest with everything we put out there, but we were trying to make a good, decent show. So we were asking if there were any portals in the area, and one of the remote viewers saw an area, so we were going out there. But I realized that we probably wouldn't be able to film anything that would actually show much of a portal out there. We were just going to go out there and film. So I was asking everyone prior to going if anything unusual had happened that we could talk about before going out to film, at least, spice up the show a little bit. And the cameraman, which normally wasn't there. Normally the cameraman was not filming when we were at the house filming, but because we were doing this journey that day to film, he was there with us. And suddenly the cameraman says, "Oh, I have this really weird circle in my backyard this morning." He shows a picture of it, and it was this strange round crop circle looking thing. It was just a swirl that went down. So after we went out to the site, and we had one wood knock, and that was about it. We went to his house and looked at it. We just happened to have a horticulturalist on the show with us, so he understood that, and he also knew a lot about crop circles. So he was able to go look at the plants. They did have that expanded node, like there was a microwave blast or something that went down in the yard. And we did the soil test. We sent that off to the lab. We had control samples as well as samples inside the crop circle to see the nodes that were actually heated and bent rather than just down because of wind or something like that. But this is the real telltale sign. His dog would always go out the back door right in that area. This thing butted right up next to his back porch. And the dog would go out and always just go right through there. Well, the dog for months would go way around the circle. So that was an odd thing too. There were no electromagnetic field detections there. Compass didn't do anything odd. But it was just a weird thing that there was that crop circle there that morning that we needed something odd to happen. So,
yeah, the exploded nodes. It would obviously is a real thing. I had that scientifically analyzed too when we did Monster Quest in one episode. But you don't hear much about crop circles again. It's just kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're still happening. I would imagine they are.
We had an office building here in Springfield, Missouri that had a really weird crop circle form in an office. And the only way we knew about it was because
explain.
There was a weird pattern that suddenly formed in the carpet. It was like a weird indented, strange crop circle-like pattern. And they came to work that morning. They made all of them go out. They ripped up the carpet immediately, threw it away, and put it on the carpet. But she saw it, and she said it was the strangest thing. It was like, it was like one office. It was a huge office building, many stories tall, but it was just one area that happened in. And it's like, what would cause that in a carpet?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's really a weird story. The fact they ripped it up. Why would they do that if it didn't have? So was it like permanently, stained or?
I don't know if it was stained. It was more like it was like either something was cut or indention of some sort. I don't know exactly how they. Some sort. Of course, crop circles can form anywhere. Sure. Ice, snow, grass, in multiple places. But I'd never heard of one in a building before like that.
Did Ted Phillips ever investigate? I know he investigated circles, landing circles, and imprints and soil. He did a lot of soil testing, and he had kind of proven that a lot of the soil was hydrophobic, or it would, just wouldn't absorb water anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That was more the UFO landing sites. So I don't know if he did anything with crop circles or anything like that.
I don't recall him ever doing that. He may have never got a chance. But God, you're lucky to have known him. It's a really super nice guy.
Yeah, he was. He was an excellent person on the show.
Yeah. Gosh darn. Jeff, do you have any questions here?
Yeah, Linda, do you have what is your either favorite or most notable abduction story that you've heard?
I like the Travis Walton story. He's just such a genuine, down-to-earth guy. And you know what? Over all of these years, his story hasn't changed a bit. And I think there's something very authentic about that. He doesn't tend to exaggerate it. He tends to just, always tell it like it is. If he doesn't know something, he says that. He tends to not, I've met him many times at conferences and things, and he just seems like a real genuine person to me. So I just really like his story.
Well, more than that, I got to know Mike Rogers, the guy driving the truck. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think Mike, he had it in for Travis a bit, probably because he got all the I don't know the reason. But Mike would call me up on occasion, and we would talk, and, Mike says, that damn thing, that happened. He never once questioned anything Travis ever said, even though I think he would have liked to, but he couldn't because it was true.
Yeah.
And I think Mike has passed now recently, not terribly long ago. But man, you talk about a guy with emotions witnessing what they witnessed. Because Travis really didn't wait. He just got zapped and went unconscious. And they booked out of there. But to talk to Mike, it's just, it's absolutely crazy to hear that firsthand story. I've talked to Travis on the phone, but I've never met him personally.
Nice guy. He's just a real down to earth person.
Yeah.
Just a real, yeah.
So how long are you going to continue doing your show? Are you just going to keep going?
Well, as long as I have an audience, I'll probably keep going. It's like Bigfoot wasn't my very first thing. UFOs, all the other mysteries in life. And of course, I do a lot of psychic training and things like that. So those things really fascinate me. But, Bigfoot, I've been drawn into it mostly because my audience is such a loyal audience, and I really appreciate them. And I find that as I continue doing this, I actually find a lot of information about UFOs. Because as we talk, we hear all their Bigfoot stories, we get all their philosophy about Bigfoot. I always ask the question, have you ever seen a UFO? And so then we go down that avenue to hear all their UFO stories, because oftentimes they have.
Yeah. Is there a one or two amazing Bigfoot stories that you could relate? You don't have to give names.
Yeah, there was one that really stood out to me, and it was kind of a UFO / Bigfoot story. This guy had befriended, I wouldn't say befriended, I would say they had tolerated one another in this area. And he would often just go out walking, and, sometimes he would hear them, sometimes he would see them or see evidence of them. And this one day he was walking through this hilly area, and there was a log across the road. And in his mind, that always meant, don't go there. Just don't go back tonight. Just don't enter. So he went home, and of course, what does he do? He calls up his friend and his son, and they decide to go out and sit on the hillside and just kind of observe and see what's going on. So they drive out there. He parks. They climb up the hill. They're perched in a place that they can see the valley, and they're just there. So they see all of this eye shine around the automobile that they left down below, and they assume that's Bigfoot, naturally. So they're just observing all the eye shine, and then suddenly there is this huge ball of light that's coming from I think it was from west to east, and it shoots down into the valley. And all of a sudden they hear this commotion and all of the eye shine turns around, because they're no longer facing them. And all of them run straight down the hill to this ball of light in the bottom of the valley. And they're just in awe. And they don't know, was that a planned situation and they were supposed to meet up with this, wall of light, or were they just curious and ran down there because they wanted to know what that was? That always stood out to me just because of the drama of it all.
What about eye shine versus eye glow? Eyes don't glow, but yet so many people report it. Have you taken a lot of reports too about eye glow?
Yeah. I've taken a lot of reports on the eye shine versus the eye glow. And oftentimes there's nothing to be shining against. There's no light source. It's just a glowing essence, of light. And they're seeing pairs, so they assume it's light, it's eyes. So, and then sometimes they think it is shine because they've got a light that's shining toward them, or moonlight or something like that. They think it might be some reflection.
What colors have you heard about?
Green, yellow, amber,
yeah.
Sometimes red. I don't think I've heard anything. I don't think I've heard blue at all. I think mostly amber, yellow, red, mostly.
It's like the most inconsistent part of Bigfoot sightings is the eye color, or the eye glow color. And that's interesting. And then I've had people go, well, it depends on their emotions. They change color if they're mad, or if they're happy, or whatever. And, once again, we don't know. But it's so consistent, the eye glow, the eye glow, the eye glow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, I remember Ted Phillips talking about out at the Marley Woods, where he was doing the research, and they would have a lot of orbs out there. And what they began to correlate was when they would see these reddish colored orbs out there, they knew something that was going to be really dangerous was probably coming down the line. And there would be like, shots of laser lights, coming out of the sky and things like that. And nothing good was going to happen here. But if the lights were white or just, a yellowish color or amber or, whatever color they were, if they were not of that dark red color, then it was going to be a gentle experience that night, like as if the orbs was communicating that, or something about the orbs had the energy of whatever was going to take place later on that day, so our night. And I thought that was an interesting correlation.
Very interesting. What about reports of zapping? There's been several people in the audience, including David Ellis, who's, had experiences with being zapped, feeling extreme anxiety, feeling like they need to leave the area immediately, being confused. I mean, I've been with people that have been zapped, and then I've heard stories of good friends of mine that have been zapped. People who are like woodsmen, hunters, and they'll get zapped and they're like walking in circles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard of that a lot, where they may feel ill, or they may just feel disoriented for a time. Sometimes they even have missing time, and that happens a lot. And they may feel fine, and then suddenly it just strikes them, like it takes them to their knees almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How often do you get dogman people in? That's another weird cryptid that
it is.
I don't have any experience with, but so
yeah,
what are your thoughts?
I've done a few dogmen. I don't search those out because my audience is pretty much Bigfoot, but I understand that the dogman is one of those cryptids that is definitely reported right along with Bigfoot, and oftentimes is. And back when we were doing Intuitive Journeys, actually, we had a gentleman on that was a dogman researcher, and it opened my eyes about the thing. I didn't even know about Bigfoot at that point in time, or I didn't know much information about it. But his was all dogman research, and then I've done a few that I didn't, probably early on, I didn't realize that we were going to get into the dogman thing, because, it's one of those things that kind of stretched my mind. I could believe in Bigfoot, but dogman was a little bit beyond what I wanted to accept. But as I've heard stories about it, I don't know that there's much difference, in them, other than dogman seems a little bit more violent than Bigfoot.
Well, like I don't know if you know Lon Strickler, but he uses the word ultra-terrestrials to describe Mothman, Dogman, and some of these creatures. I don't know if it's in your wheelhouse, that term. But it kind of makes sense.
I did. I just interviewed someone the other day that introduced that term to me. I didn't know what it meant either. But, I think that might be somewhat true. I think there are creatures out there like this, and they might fall into that category. They may be extraterrestrial, they may be interdimensional, they may, have these extra qualities of some sort. There's certainly experiences that people have with them that we cannot explain, because we don't just disappear or, appear or disappear or have these kind of unusual qualities about us.
Personally, I can't imagine a Mothman, living in the woods, feeding on whatever. And, I think there'd be more reports of it, because that's got to be some kind of weird, I thought it was all BS, but man, I'll swear in a Bible that what I saw was real. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what it wanted, but it seemed like its only purpose was to scare us, which kind of seems like a vampire kind of a thing where they're sucking energy off your fear. But what in the world would their purpose be to swoop at a car? You know what I mean? It sounds silly.
It does. Yeah.
It just sounds ridiculous. Why would it do that? It's not. It's not gaining anything. It's using energy up.
Exactly. But this is an even weirder thing, I think. A friend of mine, his mother was driving in Arkansas, and she swears to this day this happened. There was this giant spider looking thing that slowly walked across the road in front of her. And she swears, it was gigantic, way taller than the car. And it just slowly had, multiple legs. It was black, and it just slowly walked across the road. So
that's as creepy as it gets. Is it possible it was a Bigfoot doing this so-called spider walk or spider crawl?
I think she might have been able to tell a Bigfoot from a spider. It was spindly, like the spider legs,
Yeah, it's so weird because it's such a one-off. I don't know if you know Albert Rosales. He collects humanoid reports and just strange walking creatures, and the variety of things people report is so wide and so bizarre that you don't want to read his files before you go to bed. You just don't.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. So what goes through your head? You just, I would imagine you have no choice but to believe them, but why would they lie? There's no reason to make something like that up.
Very few people that I've interviewed that I felt like their story didn't hold water, and in the ones that didn't, I might not put it on, put the show up, but very few of them. And sometimes it's just when there's discrepancy in what they're saying, and from one part of the story to another, if you question them again, it just changes, and they don't seem to be able to hold up. Another thing is I've noticed, as you progress on, they may have a small portion of their story is real, and then they just start repeating things they've heard, from other stories. And you just don't know that for sure, but you just can, kind of get a feeling. But I haven't had many of those. Almost, I would say 98% of everyone I've interviewed, I believe they honestly believe the story they were telling me.
Yeah. Yeah. Who wakes up and goes, I'm going to see I'm going to tell a story about seeing a giant spider.
Right.
I mean, it's
like most people that tell the story, it's not like their life gets better after they tell the story. So there's not a real compelling reason to make it up.
Right.
No, you have everything to lose. You have nothing to gain. People, I think they like to tell their story finally. It's like therapy.
Yes.
You hold this crap in, and then you get to finally talk about it. You just don't care anymore, and it feels good,
right?
To just get it off your chest. I'm glad I haven't seen a giant spider yet, though.
Oof, that would freak me out.
All right, let's talk about your book, Linda. Then we'll kind of wrap this up, but bring up your book. This cover, first off, is really good, but it's definitely creepy. Can you explain the cover and then explain what the book's about?
Well, this is kind of my lifelong experience of doing research in UFOs, paranormal, ghost activity, and Bigfoot. And the threshold to encounters, it just seems like that there's so much speculation out there about who has encounters, how they have encounters, what encounters they have. So I just put it all in there, including, governmental programs, projections, holograms that might be out there. Also the delusional part of, some people may see things that may not actually be there, all the way through to the good old researchers in the woods, seeing things, wouldn't lie to you if they had to, and they saw something, all the way through. So the book is really about, my life experience in doing all of this research.
Okay. Are there any conclusions in your book?
No, not really, because I don't know. And so I just put out theories and ideas. I give a lot of firsthand stories that people have shared with me and allowed me to put in the book. Including the Blue Man from Missouri, the old story about the Blue Man. My dad grew up in that area. I often wonder if he has any experiences with that, because that's exactly where my dad grew up. But the Ozarks had the Blue Man back in the 30s, 40s. That was reported a lot. So it was a large Bigfoot looking creature that had really black hair. And because the hair was so black, when the sun would shine on it, it looked blue.
Okay. Interesting. Matt Langford asked, whether you've ever had any witnesses that were angry, or anybody who's had any encounters with whether it's UFOs or Bigfoots where they felt the creatures were angry.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and both sides. On the UFO side, it felt like they were more angry if the person wasn't cooperative. They felt, there was sternness there, not so much like Bigfoot, guards territory, doesn't want people in a certain location at a certain time, maybe, and exhibited very, very, strong expression to get themselves out of there. So yeah, but as to, I haven't talked to anyone that actually got hurt other than getting hit by a rock in Bigfoot territory. That's as far as it would go. Terrified, yes. I just interviewed a woman. I think that it just came out the other day. Where it's like 2 a.m. She had car trouble in the mountains in Oklahoma, and this Bigfoot, she was sleeping in the road waiting for rescue. When this Bigfoot came, she heard the breathing and she was asleep. She had a stick because she knew she was in territory where they're often some type of a wild cat is out there. I can't remember what she said, bobcat probably. And so she had a stick because she knew how to fend herself away a bobcat. But this thing was huge. It was tall. It was enormous. It was just this gigantic thing on 2 feet. So it wasn't, and she wasn't familiar with Bigfoot really, but it wasn't that. It was dark. It was really dark. It was 2 a.m. So she's in like flip-flop shoes. So, not exactly the best shoes to protect herself. And this thing just kept lunging at her. And she kept hitting it with the stick. And they did this for such a long time till she was so exhausted and her feet were killing her. And she lost, at least one shoe. She's on rocks and she just doesn't know what else to do. And finally she just throws down the stick, turns around, starts walking off. She walked for about a mile. This thing followed her, but wasn't attacking her at that point. And she went another mile or so. She knew this later because that's how far she was from the intersection they were supposed to rescue her at. And when she described this to the man that was there, the rescue team that came, he said, yeah, we get reports of that. That's a Bigfoot. We get reports of those here all the time. They took her to the hospital. She was terribly dehydrated, exhausted, and of course in anxiety mode. She was a physician. So, when she got to the hospital, it was the hospital she worked at actually. And she was hysterical. Her sister came and first she's, blabbering off about this creature and this Bigfoot, and warning, trying to keep it away from her, trying to stay alive. And, it was a little embarrassing the next day because she had to go to work. She's talked all about this hysterically. But that was probably one of the scariest Bigfoot stories I've heard because she was alone. It was 2 a.m. Her cell phone wouldn't work. That's why she had to walk, to this intersection, and finally got a hold of 911 to come rescue her. But she had to wait for them because it was a long, long ways from a rescue unit to come out there for her. So that was a bizarre story, but an interesting one.
What about anytime you need to bail, Linda?
Oh, I'm good.
You just yell at me and I'll let you go. But okay. So I just thought of another question I want to ask you. How about people reporting portals? What are your thoughts on, not only portals for UFOs, but portals for Bigfoots? I've heard some really credible people tell me some crazy stories, but I got to just tell you this story. I saw footage literally like 2 weeks ago of a guy who claims he has a portal on his property, and he actually has this giant structure on his property. And he's like, he films a video of a deer and he goes, this deer just came through the portal. I swear to God, the deer's got its eyes closed, standing there. And he goes, he's a little stunned right now. And he goes to pet the deer, and the deer kind of instantly pulls back from the guy. But his eyes I've never seen a deer with his eyes closed standing next to a man. He's like, yeah, I just brought this guy through the portal. And I don't know what to think of that video.
Wow. So he just brought him through the portal. I mean, how did he?
I don't know. I don't know the guy. I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out because this footage is so crazy.
Yeah.
but it's real, and it's a white-tailed deer, and he's standing. He goes, I just brought this guy through the portal. He's doing okay, but he's a little stunned still, and his eyes are closed. Like the deer is like clenching his eyes shut. But as the guy puts his hand towards the deer, before he even touches the deer flinches away from him. So the deer is very much awake. He's not drugged, or he wouldn't do that. And the guy's like, oh, you're going to be okay. But he's told the guy that showed me the video all sorts of stories. And he got invited to go up there. And he got invited to go up when the guy brings creatures and animals through the portal.
Where does he? Where they come from?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's in Minnesota, so it's an area in Minnesota.
Well, the only portal I'm really familiar with is just the one that Trey Hudson, explores at the Meadow, and they found it was a box. That they only found it through the flare, that they could see that there was a cube out there in the Meadow. And then, of course, those two guys that were researching, they went out and walked into it. And when they did, there was no more heat signature of the two guys when they were inside this area.
I've heard this story secondhand.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And I haven't heard of many other portals besides that. Because we went out to this area to try to find a portal, but we didn't really find much out there. Lots of things have gone on in that area, however. Lots of UFO activity. There was a blue donut UFO went over the lake. There was a Bigfoot seen really close by there. There's some, and the man who studies Dog Man was there with us at that time. We heard a wood knock that was really loud, and I never even heard a wood knock before. And I just mentioned, what is that? And he said, that's a wood knock, and he had been in security and patrolled that area many times. It was a lake area. And he said some really strange things would happen there at night, but nothing that he could put his finger on to tell me about. But he said it's just an eerie feeling out there at night. But we didn't really have anything happen to us when we were there.
Interesting. Oh man, I mean that's just like such a strange can of worms.
Yeah.
But I've talked to two people I trust a lot, and they claim they were out on a Bigfoot expedition here several summers ago, and they both claimed they saw a square portal open up like a cube in the middle of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, well, I wish I was there.
Really?
That'd be something to see. That's for
That would
sure.
be something to see. And, so I've heard these stories. And then up at Snell, one of our members said they saw a portal open up in the sky. And then we had a bunch of red orbs visit the cabin. Everybody saw them but me. Everybody but me. I was at my back turns, like they were, people would turn white. It's like, what? And they're like, well, two red orbs just whizzed by, like low to the ground. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about all this.
Yeah, I had an interesting report just the other day. A group of us were together, and someone was talking about seeing these really, they were hard to see, but they were like these large, like amoebas, and you could barely see them. They weren't clouds. You could see through them. They were kind of weird jellyfish looking things that were floating through the sky, and they just kept floating, and one after another. They were huge, but just really odd. But he said, at first he didn't notice them, and a guy that was there with him looked up and pointed them out to him, and as he started looking, he could see them. They very strange, these very strange jellyfish-like amoeba-looking things, floating across the sky. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, we've seen videos of that. We've had it we've showed videos on the show of that. Some pretty strange stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of any of this stuff. I'm getting, the world's getting weirder and weirder and weirder. I don't know what to think. I'm not sure I want to think about any. I don't think if I want to see anything more. So are you really would you love the opportunity to see a Bigfoot, Linda?
I wouldn't mind seeing one. I think I would like to see it from my car as I'm driving down the road and it's walking along the side of the road.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want one of these, face-to-face encounters
Yeah.
or in a scary place where I'm invading their territory and they don't want me there. I don't know if I want that type of an encounter, but I really wouldn't mind seeing one alongside the road.
Yeah. It's a good place to see it. We've seen two really close at the side of the road, me and Yvette.
Mhm.
And it's so nice to have a witness. Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
so nice.
Mhm.
Because if you don't have a witness, you're kind of like, it's just your word, and that's it. Somebody said, Adam Davies loves it when you ask him about the portal. Yeah, and I did. I had my son on the phone, and I called Adam, and I go, tell us about your portal experience. And Adam was just totally straight with it. He just told us the whole story. Have you ever talked to Adam about that?
I haven't.
You should get him on your show
Will.
and ask him about this strange night that he had. It's just not something you expect to come from Adam. I mean, Adam's a guy I've hired to do like jungle expeditions and go to the Himalayas, and you know what I mean. He just does not seem like the portal guy, but he tells it like it is. And he's just like, he goes, I don't know what to think of it. That's what I saw. So who knows?
That is interesting. There's a lot of subjects that I didn't find very plausible, a couple of years ago. But just from talking to people telling these stories,
Yeah.
there's some pretty credible stories. I mean, like Linda said, these people saw something. You can kind of tell when someone's just telling a story, but these people saw something.
Yeah.
And that's credible. I mean, it's hard to just dismiss that.
It is. Well, it's easier when you haven't seen it yourself, of course. At least you feel like there's a chance it's not real. But when you start seeing it yourself, somebody had asked, and I'm like, I think it was Matt that asked, where does your fear level at when you're out in the field? But I think we answered that already.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and watch the beginning of the show, Matt. That was one of the first questions I asked you. All right, let's wrap this up here. Thank you so much, Linda. And where can people get your book? If they want an autograph copy, can they get one?
Well, if they want an autographed copy, they can just go to my website. You can just contact me through my website. It's just lindaeastburn.com.
Okay.
You can also get one through Amazon, but it won't be signed. But you can get it through Amazon, of course.
Very cool. Very cool. And I put the cover back up, Jeff.
There we go.
There we go. Threshold to Encounter. It's a great
It is a
name,
cool
too.
cover. Yeah, great
I
title,
like the
great
title,
cover.
Linda. I love the title. Well, thank you so much. Sorry to bombard you with so many stupid questions or weird questions that were kind of out of the blue.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I love the topic.
Okay. Well, forgive me if I hit you from too many different directions.
No, it's
That's what happens when you get interviewed by a guy with ADHD.
That is true.
But yes. Anyhow, thanks so much, Linda. But just stand by. We're going to do our wisdom, then we'll wrap up here.
Hang
Stand
tight,
by,
everyone, and
wisdom.
we'll be right
Linda.
back.
It's now time for Untold Radio AM Wisdom of the Week. It's easy to forget there's a real person on the other side of that screen. Someone with bills, pain, family, bad days, and a heart just like yours. A cheap insult may get a few likes, but it also leaves a mark, and sometimes you never know how heavy that mark lands. The strongest people don't need to tear strangers down to feel taller. Good night. We hope to see you all next week. If you like the show tonight, please consider giving us a thumbs up, leaving a nice comment, and most of all, subscribing and hitting the bell so you will be notified when a new episode is dropping. Also, please share this episode. Now back to Doug and Jeff for our wrap.
As always, that was good wisdom.
Yeah.
Very good wisdom.
And thank you so much, Linda. And I recommend you go over, if you're not familiar with the Linda Eastburn YouTube channel, get over there and subscribe. I always watch your shows. I binge them, Linda. It drives me nuts because I'm like, okay, one more. and I find out the sun's coming up. And what's cool about your show, Linda, and what makes it very different, they're very long form. And that is something I think people are craving because of all the short, little videos that are all over social media. But your shows are very thorough, and I really appreciate them.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, and we'll be back next week. And we've got another surprise guest, and we will see everybody next Sunday.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know where we belong. This ain't no ordinary love we got going on. I'll pick you up in my 59 Ford. We head on down the road until we get bored. Just you and me and the sun and the wind. If the rain should start falling, we'll head home again. Everybody else can see where we belong. Oh, ain't no ordinary love we got going on. At the end of the world, together forever is one, and I'll wait. If ever you should be in doubt, and I pray they never can pull us apart, and I'll wait for the time when we'll be together every day. But I know if ever we'll be led astray, that I'll find my way back home to you again. At the end of the world, together forever is one, and I'll wait if ever you should be